From survival to softness, from burnout to real healing.
Hey y'all, we are back with another episode of Black Women Healing Podcast, and we have a special guest on today. But before we introduce our guest, I want to kick off a conversation with Jamie. And so, something I've been thinking about is what is something you've been appreciating about like just your life and community as of lately?
So, two things. One, I truly appreciate that I'm surrounded by like minded givers. That has not always been the case for me. And it's pushing me into some very uncomfortable yet positive positions. So, I can think of one example. There's one of the soccer moms that my daughter's on the team, on one of the soccer moms in my daughter's soccer team. And she is like such a giver. And I'm used to being in her position. And so it's just really nice to meet someone else that's like, no, like, please let me take her. Like, please let me pick her up and drop her off to practice. And I'm just like, oh my God, how can I tell you no? Like, I want to tell you no. And then I start bargaining, but that's not the case. And that's very prevalent in my community right now. And for my life, I used to get nervous before I do things that I love, and I was saying to myself, like, "That's because it matters to me," I think, because I couldn't justify, like, "Why do I get so nervous?" And lately, like, within the last couple of days, I have not been as nervous leading up to moments that I care about deeply. I still
Yeah.
get nervous, like, maybe a few minutes or an hour or, before, but it's not that lead up, like, all day or the day
Hmm.
before or, so I'm really loving that about life right now.
I love that. This keeps
How
coming
about
up for you.
you?
That seems to be a theme of you trying to be the giver when other people are trying to give.
It's been consistent this year, so still here, still pinching myself like, "Yeah, that's real."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, what's been showing up a lot in my life is people who just step in without me asking, like that being like in life and community. Like, I really appreciate the person that just does instead of the person that says, "What do you need?" Because oftentimes, like, I don't know and you don't know. So if you just do the thing that feels good, like if you feel called to say, "I'm going to drop off her favorite drink," or "I'm just going to show up," or "I'm gonna do whatever thing," like, I am in a phase where I appreciate that so much more because I already gotta think for my toddler. I don't wanna think for my
Yeah.
toddler, me, and for you to help me, so
Yeah.
I've been appreciating that. What about you, Tamika? Anything coming up for you as far as something you've been appreciating in your life and in your community?
I feel like, I resonate with both of what you guys said. I'm always the one who's pouring, and so when those little moments of someone pouring back into me without me asking
Mhm.
has really been showing up a lot in my life over these last couple of weeks, and I've learned that I really appreciate that. Like you
Yeah.
said, I think for so many people, including myself, and for someone to think for me, just for like it could be 10 seconds, and I'm like, "Thank you, I really appreciate that."
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think this is the Black Women Healing Podcast, and I think that's a part of our healing process is to be able to kinda receive that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm,
wasn't always the best at receiving. I'm an excellent giver, like, can give down. But when it comes to receiving, it's like, "Oh, no, you don't have to do it for me." It's like, "No, they can, and they should, and
Yeah.
you should expect it as well, and that's okay."
Yes, yes. Heavy on the "and that's okay."
Uh-huh, right.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Imma let Jamie go ahead and introduce our guest for
Yeah.
today.
Today, we have the honor of having our guest be Tamika Williams, who is the founder and executive director of Beautiful As I Am, the founder of Poise Creatives. Tamika, talk to us, share a little bit more about how these two entities came to be, and if anything else you want to share about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for actually having me on today. I really appreciate it. Wherever I get a chance to tell my story, is like it's changing for me. It's great. I love it. And we need more opportunities to be able to tell our story as women and not keep it bottled in because that's how we learn is by telling our story and listening to what others have went through and overcome. But my story starts off as I was a young girl who was labeled a troubled child. In the fifth grade, I had a teacher pull me in front of the entire class and tell the class never to be like me, that I was never going to amount to anything, that I would probably end up pregnant by the time I was 16, arrested, or even worse, dead because I just was just a horrible person. At that time, I had gotten in trouble the day before. My mom had warned, like, "Hey, if you let them call me again, I'm coming up there." And nobody wanted Darlene to come up to the school because she would show off. So I never told my parents, but it also lit a fire under me. And I was like, I don't know how, but I'm never going to be what that lady just said. And I would love to say that the next moment that I changed. No, it took me having a village of women that kept pouring into me and kept saying, despite who you are portraying yourself to be and what you're doing right now, you're greater than that. You can overcome that. You can do this. If you change that, this will be the outcome. And it was ninth grade. I decided to listen to them and apply what they were saying. And I went from a young girl who only got a 1.0 GPA to having a 4.0. I never dropped below a 3.86 in my entire high school career. I went on and got 3 degrees. I've had a successful, amazing career in communications. Everything that that lady said, I was the total opposite. Like I wish I could find her. I can't. I've searched just to say thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, 'cause what you meant for evil, it turned out to work for good for me, so it was in college that I seen some girls in my parents' neighborhood who looked just like I did when I was their age, and I asked them, I was like, "Hey, do you have a village? Do you have a woman that tells you that you can be better than who you are?" And they were like, "No." I said, "Well, that's what I'm gonna be for you." I didn't know what I was doing, but I just know I saw myself in them, and I wanted to see who I was then in them. I wanted to see them become greater. And I started working with them, and it turned into something bigger, and I had people start referring young girls to me. Um, and then in 2017, I got incorporated thanks to Georgetown Law School. They did all of my legal work for free. And 2017, that's where it like started to click and I started to realize what I really wanted to do in life. And that was to build villages for women and young girls to that did not have that in their immediate reach and to let them know you can overcome anything. I don't care what you're going through. If I can overcome what I overcame, you can too. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take some work. It's not going to happen overnight, but eventually you'll get to that sweet spot. And in addition to my nonprofit with my Poised Creatives, I'm just a very creative person and I love helping people take an idea and turn it into a masterpiece. And so that's what I do at Poise Creatives. I don't really focus on like the whole branding and things like that, but I help you figure out what the next steps are. And you walk away with a blueprint on what you need to do so that you can launch this idea and you can make it happen because I believe you can make everything happen. You just need to know and have the right resources and tools to do it. And that's what we do at Poise Creatives.
Nice. Oh my god. Oh, Myra, go it flow with it, 'cause I have a lot that I just wanna say back, so I wanna be fair.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You know, what's coming up for me is I'm thinking about healing in community first versus isolation. Because oftentimes when we think about our young girls, we think about, well, I think about healing in isolation being that I'm someone I grew up in a city where we had a lot going on and it was all ripped away. And now they're pouring all this money back into the community because well, not the community, but the city more so, like, we're getting all these stadiums
Mhm.
by city, and the schools are shutting down, though, but then I'm like, "But what are we doing for the kids?" And so, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that I, started my own version of what you do because of literally all these things being ripped out, like, our YMCA was literally torn down, Boys and Girls Club shut down, like, no things. But, again, it goes back to my question of why do you feel as though healing community is important versus by yourself? Because oftentimes we hear people say, like, I need to step away, I need to draw back because I need to focus on myself. And I'm like, yes, and right? Like,
Mhm.
what about the communal part of things? I'm curious what's coming up for you. I'm just rambling like off my thoughts, but for you, what?
That's a good question, and I would say this is something I have thought about for a very long time. Well, not long time. I've been thinking about it since last year's came up. I was thinking about what community looked like back in the old days, right, with our great great grands. And I remember hearing stories of how in reading books and watching documentaries of how our community took care of each other, right? Like they didn't allow you, if you were hungry, you weren't going to be hungry alone. Miss So and so was going to get a pot of chili and she was going to put that pot of chili on. She was going to feed her kids, your kids, and everybody else. Like the community worked together. And that's the reason why I believe it grew and it was so strong and that's why it was trying to be ripped away and torn down. That's why a
Yep.
community has been torn down because they know that when people come together and they unite and they take care of each other and we're not crabs in a barrel trying to tear the next person down because I want to get to the top first. And if we start realizing like the top is so wide, everybody
Yep.
could get a piece of it.
Yep.
I feel like if we that mindset was to come back to us, a lot of the isolation would cease. I think because of the way the society has transitioned and transformed so much, um, that whole "I can do it all on my own and I'm stronger," and, we've been taught that if you do it by yourself, you're stronger, and that's
Mhm.
actually you're weaker because you can't get
Yes.
more done,
Yeah.
when it's just you by yourself. So for me, that community part, when we stop allowing pride to lead and we
Mhm.
lead with open heart and love and understanding that you're going through something, I'm going through something, but if we come together and figure this out together, we can get through this stronger, probably quicker, because we're bringing both of our resources together. And we learn that, like, again, I feel like the isolation is the devil's playground. Like,
Yes.
Mhm.
when you're isolated, you're you cut yourself off from what you could potentially have. And that's where that darkness starts to come in. That's where people start taking a turn for the worse. So for me, I really, and that's what I do in my nonprofit, not just in my nonprofit, just my life period. I'm
Yes.
about inclusion, like making sure everybody feel like you're a part of this community because I see the power of it and I see how it strengthens us as people.
Yes, that was literally the message in church this past Sunday, so I'm appreciating you saying that. And my pastor, he does this thing where he asks an icebreaker question, and everybody's like, because he's like, move out of your pew, go find
Mhm.
somebody you haven't seen, hug them, and talk about the question. And usually we're like, nah, we don't want to do that. No. But this past week, he said, "Now I invite y'all to find somebody else that is on the same mission as you, which is to get a
Mhm.
closer connection to God and figure out what other things you have in common. And now y'all need to form a group. But y'all got to report back that you formed this group." And we were like, no, like another thing we
Mhm.
don't want to do, because usually churches, they'll be like, oh, this is a teen group, this is a mom group, this is an
Mhm.
adult group. He said, nah, y'all forming groups and y'all gonna let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
But the sermon was so good because he told these stories from the Bible about people when they came together, how, like you said, you got something small, but you make it so big when you work together. So I'm appreciating hearing you say that because it's literally taking me back to my sermon this past Sunday at church.
Yes. Yes.
That's
No,
good.
that's good stuff. It's so interesting because you said so much, so much. The power in being the underdog or being underestimated,
Yep.
Mhm.
right? And then somebody sought you out. So like that is like each one teach one. That's what comes to mind. Like we owe it, like we gotta keep this domino effect going. And then even just thinking about seeing possibility, like
Mhm.
being surrounded by others
Mm,
who are doing, you know, how naturally motivating or empowering that can be just off site, you
Mhm.
know? And then something else that I just wrote down is accountability, right? Because
Yeah.
when we are in community, I think that there's a level of accountability that's there that helps multiply the good things
Mhm.
happening
yes.
Yeah.
because we're like, you know what? Here, y'all come over here. I'm cooking dinner or whatever because
Mhm.
you've been there, and so you know, like what it feels like, and it's just something when there are people there to witness, where you will show up a little bit better because
Mhm.
people are counting on you.
Right.
Mm. Yeah, 'cause yeah, God, I have a question, and I'm really curious. So, Beautiful as I Am emphasizes confidence, emotional wellness, literacy, mentoring, and community. So, we've already talked about the isolation part, but can we talk a little bit about confidence
Mm,
and how you kinda weave that into your work with the girls?
I'm so glad you asked that question because that is one of my pillars is building confidence, and helping produce confident women. One of the things that I've learned over these umpteen years of me working in the community and working with women is that when a woman is confident in what she knows, she shows up and she shows out. When you're not confident, you shrink. You stand in the
Yeah.
background. You let everything else pass you by. You let somebody else speak up for you. You let other people represent you. But when you are confident, it's like, I'm coming to the table. I'm taking a seat. You're not going to give it. I'm going to take my seat and I'm going to command the presence of where I'm at. And when I started seeing the transformations in the young girls and women that we work with, it wasn't necessarily the life skills that we were teaching them. It was the confidence that now, oh, I really do know how to balance my checkbook now. I really do know about credit now. I really do know what it means to be emotionally intelligent. Like I understand this now. So now when I show up, I'm coming in my full self. I'm going to give it
Yes.
all. And I'm not afraid that if I don't know nothing, I could just ask the question. And so I've learned that over the years that you can't mess with a confident person. And that's why people kind of, and I hate using this word hate on people. They dislike people or they're like, oh, she thinks she this or she think, no, she's confident and you lack confidence. And so now you're mad because you don't have that instead of being someone to say, "Hey, there's something about you. What is it? Like, what can I
Mm,
learn from you?" Because we can learn from
yeah.
everybody and everything. And so with me, yes, we do teach life and social skills to women and young girls because that helps build their confidence. When you know what you're talking about, you're going to stand 10 toes down on it, right? You are
Yeah.
going like nobody can knock you off, but also in that same voice remaining humble because we also can when you're confident that's great but also be always open to learn, always open to
Yes.
hear what somebody else is saying because I'm learning that as life goes on we are always learning, we're always evolving, and so that makes you even more of a bad person, like not a bad person, like a really confident person when you can understand that I'm evolving and there's room for me to grow and there's room for me to hear from other women and learn from that and incorporate that into my life in the best way I see fit.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
I'm so
Yes.
curious, like, when we think about building confidence, I'm thinking about, adult women who may struggle with it. Confidence building practices, are there any that you 2 ladies feel as though, like, you implement into your life? Like me, for example, I love "Conceited" by Remy Ma, and I blast that song in the mirror whenever me and my friends are out. They're always like, "Play this song for my friend, because this is gonna be,
Mhm.
like, her thing whenever I'm having a
Yeah.
bad day." Like, that is, like, my go-to song, and I know it bar for bar
Yes.
Mhm.
because it's just something about the way that she says the words and the words that she says, I just like, "Can't nobody touch me." But that's
Right.
my confidence practice. So I'm curious for you 2 ladies, like, do you have a thing that you do that boosts you up a little bit that we can share, like, with adult women who may be listening to the podcast?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Hey.
I'll go first. Oh, so one of mine is kind of, I guess I would say it's like a popular thing. It's probably unpopular. But for me, I like to go back and look at my wins. I like to go back and look at the stuff that I was told I would never be able to do,
Yeah,
not just by people, but by myself sometime because you see something and
I
you're
like
like, this
that.
is too big. This is way too big. But I believe God is not going to give you anything. First of all, if it's too big, it's God. If it's not too big, it ain't him. So he ain't, he's not going to push you to do something that's not going to require him to help you through it. So
Yep.
for me, it's reflecting on what I've overcome and not, again, not just what people told me I wasn't, but the things I doubted in myself. And I'm like, but sis,
Mhm.
look, you're on the other side of this now. So if you made it through that, you definitely going to make it through a bad day. All right,
Yes.
Yes.
go watch your TikTok, do what you gotta do, shut it down for the day, start over tomorrow. Cause look at where we've come from. So for me, my practice is looking back from where I've come from and celebrating that and reminding myself if God did it before, he'll do it again and again and again and
Amen.
again.
Yes.
So a couple of things. First of all, where are you from? Because
DC.
I hear the accent. Okay. Because I'm
Yes, DC.
like, okay, it's something is there, but I love it. That I gotta say that. But something that you said that I love, and I'm trying to implement this into my daily life is the power of reflection. Because I
Mhm.
think all too often for myself and some of my peers, we the master of a to-do list. We just to-do
Mhm.
list, get it done, get it done. You scratch as you scratching it off, it's almost like a treadmill or the stairmaster. More is coming in. And we're so focused on scratching things off and going to the next that we don't reflect on what all did I do today? Like what all I crossed off, like sitting with what you cross off. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I get a little guilty pleasure off of, like, crossing the things off.
Oh, yeah.
I
But,
do.
like okay. And so
I do.
even sitting with that is a thing, but then something that I've been trying to implement, and I haven't been that good at it yet, but is, like, sitting at the end of the day and really going back over that to-do list, and even the things that I didn't write them down and say, "Damn, I did my homework today. I picked up the kids on time today. I worked out today. I did this, I did that." Like, all of that because I have just a bad habit or a habit of going to what I gotta do tomorrow and what I have next and what instead of really sitting with that. So I love that you said reflecting on your wins. There's so much power in reflection. One of the confident boosting practices that I like to implement for myself is keeping my promises to myself.
No.
Mm.
Like I tell like one of the ones that's easy to explain is like I work out 6 days a week. I can do everything for everybody,
Mhm.
but I have to do that for myself. If I don't, I feel very shitty. I feel like I'm back in people pleaser mode. I feel like I'm self-betraying. I feel like all the things, right? But when I do it, it's like something very invisible that it's very hard for me to explain, but confidence fits in the puzzle piece.
Of
I
course.
get it. I feel like,
Mhm.
what you need me to do? Like, what do you want? Because I already
Mhm.
did me today. Like, it's like my vitamins. Like,
Love
I
that.
kept
Yes.
my promises to myself, and my number one promise is, that's one of them. So, yeah.
I love
So
that. I also want to highlight the fact of the pillars of confidence, emotional wellness, literacy, mentoring, community are all married to each other. So I see what you did there because even as you were talking about confidence, emotional wellness fell under that, literacy fell under that.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious also for the mentors that are in the program, how do y'all take care of yourselves? Because y'all are pouring these things into the mentees and these are
Great
powerful
one.
things, but I'm also thinking about the brain work that it takes to make sure we're touching on
Mhm.
these pillars while they all, again, marry each other, which, again, I got to compliment you there because as you were sharing, everything connected and made sense where I'm like,
Mhm.
this has to click. How do y'all take care of yourself so? Because that's some brain
That's
work.
a that's a good question, and it's something that I had to learn early in the process of how to do, and I wasn't good at it because I would take the burdens of everybody, and then I will hold on to it, and then I'll be think because I'm just a natural God made me a fixer, like, I'm a fixer. I go in, "How can this be fixed?" And I've learned that not everything needs my fixing. Not everything needs me to go in and start getting into fixing mode. I learn how to evaluate situations and learn and see where do I fit in it. Is it for me to be the fixer? Is it me for be, be a listener today? Is it for me to be an encourager? Like I find what my role is and I allow myself to be that role for that moment and that's it. I don't take that home anymore. And that's something that I had to learn. Like, why was I walking around feeling so heavy and feeling like sad? And it was like because I'm trying to take on everything that these women and young girls are going through. And that does not belong to me. I got my own burdens, my own issues. And that's one of the things when my mentors come, when we do trainings, I teach them, hey, your job is not to do the work for them. Your
Mhm.
job is to direct them on how they're to do the work, and they have to do the work. And guess what? They're not going to listen the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time. be okay with that. Just know that at some point they're gonna get it. It could be years from now, we never even see it, but know that you poured in, you did what you're supposed to do, and then you let them go off and do what they need to do. Because if not, you are gonna be worn out and you're gonna get burnt out from doing this work because it is a work that requires someone to have a heart for people, and you have to be and it's a unpaid it's like a you have to be okay with not ever being paid to do this. I don't get paid to do what I'm doing. I get paid when I see my young girls overcome. When I see a young girl who came into me who was dealing with anxiety and depression and was afraid to interact with other girls who are now the spokesperson of Baya. That's what we call Beautiful as I Am for short, Baya. You know, seeing a woman, a young mother, a single mom who I've helped direct them and them finally get it, and now they're taking those steps like, "Miss Tamika, I got the job." I know you did. And you were supposed to. Absolutely. You did the work. You did what you're supposed to do. So,
Yeah.
like, it's just that making sure that you have to understand your role. You have to play your role to a T, and then you have to let it go. And I think that
Mhm.
that is something I also learned from my mom. She raised us, she nurtured us, she gave us everything that we needed to be successful. But she was like, the work is going to be on you. And I don't take no responsibility for that because your decisions are your decisions, not mine. She used to have this saying where she would always say, I give you enough rope to hang yourself. And then
Mhm,
when
I
you
know
hang
that one.
yourself, I'm taking over. And she would. She'd be like, okay, I see you. I see you. I see you, girl. I see you doing your thing. I'm just waiting. Cause once you burn it, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna shut stuff down. And so that lives in me. And that became realistic and real for me when I did try to be the fixer and do the work for them and I got burnt out and I didn't understand why and I had to pray and God was like, "'Cause you're trying to be me. You ain't me. I just asked you to lead them. I asked you to plant and water. I'll add the increase. Just do what I tell you to do and leave the rest of that alone."
The
Wow.
yeah.
Tamika, something was coming up for me as you just shared that, and this has nothing to do with what you just said, but it has everything to do with what you just said. Your mom was literally planting seeds of confidence in you to trust yourself, and when you went to work with these girls, you trusted yourself so much.
Mm,
You get where I'm
yeah.
going here? Where that's
Yeah.
why you stepped in so much, and I think that when we have parents who ingrain trust in us, I especially think about being raised by a single mom of how my mom was very big on you figure it out, and that
Mhm.
still lives with me to this day.
Mhm.
Everything I go on,
Mhm.
I'm like, "You figure it out, Myra." Even as now I'm going back to the reflection I have with y'all where I said I like for my friends to be like, "I'll figure out what you need and I'll just do the thing." Your mom did a great job there, and
Yeah.
I'm sure your mom ingrained, your relationship with God as well. I think that the 2 together of, like, God got my back and I trust myself, it makes a hell of a person. But then it
Yeah.
also comes full circle of let me allow these girls to trust themselves as well. So, I don't know why that was coming up as you were sharing about your mom, but I just felt called like I had to share that.
You know, that means a lot to me because, unfortunately, my mom suddenly passed last year, so and one of the things at her service that I think it was something we had on the program, that her legacy would continue to live on, and I after the service and, after all the phone calls stop, you gotta deal with the process, right? And so I thought about that legacy that my mom
Mhm.
she started. My mother wasn't just my mother, she was a mother of the community, like, our house was a community center. She was very adamant about the boys not being on the streets. So she opened up her door. I'm telling you, it's times you would come in there, you just see bodies sleep, laid but she would go to Costco and BJ's and buy in bulk so they could have food, and they would play game they'd be in there playing the games, and they'd just be in and so she started that legacy, and I'm like, now I brought it and I created something in my own little way, but
Yes.
when you said that just now, I was like, wow, I didn't even understand it, and that too also is a part of her legacy being lived out in me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that's true generational wealth too, right? When we think about the things that our parents instill in us that we continue to carry on as part of who we are as people and people who impact the world around us, that's true generational wealth. Because the wealth is supposed to be, what is the impact? What have I
Mhm.
carried on from you? So thank you for sharing that about your mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. That took me on a roller coaster.
Mm.
because I'm, like, really big on understanding self,
Mhm.
understanding like, just self-discovery, and so I'm always interested in people's relationship with their parents. Good, bad, the fruits,
Mhm.
the things that you learn, how you transition the pearls, and just how there's so much diversity and perspective with years, like, our the context, if I'm not explaining myself as clearly as I wish I could, is like, I remember if you woulda asked me when I was 18 about my relationship with my mom, I woulda told you something totally different than what I would tell you today.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, like, one of my favorite sayings is life is always clear in the rearview mirror, and the further you get away, the more clear it can be
Mm.
because you realize, like, you know what, this helped make me, like you were talking about with the teacher,
Mhm.
or even, just your mom opening up her doors to, you know, the young boys. Like, it for my kid, she might be jealous at first, like, "Ah, why you always doing this?" or whatever, but then in hindsight, like, what if my daughter were to kinda let that legacy live on, or how we're
Mm.
modeling?
Yeah.
There's just so much,
Yeah.
perspective in what you said, and I'm wanting to ask questions about your grieving process just because this is the Black Woman Healing Podcast, like,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's like grief has been something that has been so unpopular to talk about in great depths and
Mhm.
individuality, but then I'm torn because, you know, I I'm taken by this idea of trust, right? And talking about how trust builds confidence. When you
Mhm.
trust someone and allow them to have their missteps and pick themselves back up, because they won't know that they have the strength to do that unless you can
Mm.
have enough patience as a
Yeah.
person witnessing them to allow for
Yeah.
them to
Yep.
hang that rope, as you said. So I'm all over the place because you are sharing some things that are igniting a lot. So is there anything that's popping up for you before I ask a question? Because I'm very curious to anything that you might have to say.
Yeah. So you talk about the grief. Last year probably was one of the worst years. I didn't know probably. I've said this before. This year was the worst year of my life. No, last year was the worst year of my life. Starting off with my mom passing away 5 days after my birthday, unexpectedly. I got riffed from my federal job. I got brought back and riffed again illegally, as I say. They weren't supposed to do it, and losing all of my benefits and my nonprofit taking a hit, losing our funding because of so much stuff that changed in the administration. We lost all of our funding, but we had all this stuff already planned and had to be done. And then I have to still kind of show up for those things, but I'm still dealing with a hole in my heart that no matter what anybody says, it is not closing. And honestly, say this because it's true. The person I was when I had my mother died the same day she passed away. And so this new person is coming to fruition that I still don't know who she is just yet.
Mhm.
I don't. I don't know who she is. And then having to take care of my dad, making sure because my dad, my mother did everything for that man, spoiled anyway. So like then stepping in and finding boundaries like, hey, I'm not mommy. I'm not about to be in here folding clothes and doing all that stuff for you, but I am going to make sure you are taken care of. And then he had a stroke in November and I, had to deal with that. And it was just so much grief. And I think the most important thing or the best thing I could have ever done is accepted that I'm in grief and not to
Mhm.
pretend like I have an answer on what it is to heal from that because you don't know. You just gotta
Mhm.
live. And I love that thing you said about getting better, looking through the rearview mirror. Like the further you get away from it, the better you get. And I think that is going to be true too in this situation and dealing with, losing something that like that was my lifeline. That was like this lady had me in her body at one point. You know what I'm saying? Like her blood runs through me.
Mhm.
And my mom was more than just a mother to me. Like she was my best friend. Like, and all those things that you once did, picking up the phone and you can't do that now. So for me, grief is you learn as you go. There is no one right answer. take 10 steps. Nah, you're gonna wake up today and you may be doing just fine, and you can smell something that reminds you of that person, and boom, you go down.
Yep.
Go down.
Yeah.
Go cry,
Yep.
sing, whatever it is you do. And that's the one thing I'm learning. Again, I have not completely learned who this new person is, but I'm starting to like her because she learning some stuff. She got boundaries now, and she free. She don't hold herself back, and or whatever. So that grief part is hard, but it's like allow yourself to experience it in the way that works best for you. Because everybody has an opinion until they go through it, and they see that there's
Yeah.
no answer to how you deal with
Yep.
it.
Yep.
1,000%. I gotta jump in and say 2 things really quick. One, I was, fortunate enough to be in the grief conversation on Wednesday with law enforcement, and one
Mm,
of the I don't wanna take credit for this, so one of the things that the officer said was, "Grief is unique as a fingerprint."
mm. Oh gosh.
That was the first thing, and then the second thing I just wanna say was that the question that I was gonna ask was about the first steps of us, figuring out your sense of self, and while I don't know that we'll have time to really deeply respect and explore that today, I just wanna throw that out there because what you said about that when your mother passed, that the version of yourself that you were that day died,
Mhm.
that was fire. That was deep. That I'll be definitely sitting with. So those are
Yep.
the 2 things that just kinda came to mind that I wanted to, make sure that I shared out loud.
I appreciate that. I just wrote that down. Grief is as unique as a fingerprint. That is a bar. I could
Wasn't
I
from
could go
me.
to yeah, listen, but you the message again, sharing that
Yeah.
Exploring
information
it.
out, I'm gonna grow from that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the power of
Yeah.
community.
I
Yes.
wanna thank you 2 ladies for,
Yes.
like, leaning into this conversation because over on our Substack for the podcast, I've been writing a lot about my healing journey, and one of the articles I recently wrote about was how it feels like I'm always grieving. I was very, very close to my aunt, and she passed in 2020, and it was really hard because she was my second mom.
Mhm,
She did a lot for me, and so she was a part of, like, a lot of my life transitions and changes, and she was the person who helped me make a lot of choices. And so now being a mom, I am like, "Oh, I can't call her. Let me okay, I can't get in contact with this person." And the smallest things, like you're saying about your like, smelling things, it'd be a song that'll come and I'll be like, "Why is Blame It on the Alcohol making me emotional?" Because my
yeah.
aunt only listened to jazz, and that was the one song where she was like, "I like the beat to this." And so
Mhm,
it'd be, like, the smallest things, but I think it's so important to be in conversation about grief because it's one of those things that you just always feel it. Like, I don't
you
think
do.
there's ever a moment where you're like, you just don't feel it anymore. It'd be the smallest thing of, like, her birthday. I'll not be thinking about her birthday, but the day comes and I'm like, "Why do I feel sick? Why do I feel like I
Mhm,
can't go to work? Why do I feel this way?" Or even, like, her death anniversary where it's like, "What's going on? Today is just April 3rd, and it feels like the day is falling apart. What is happening to
mhm,
me?" Okay, like, the body
mhm,
truly keeps the score, and so
mhm.
I'm just thanking y'all
That's
for leaning
real.
into that conversation because it feels like it gets skipped over. Like, it feels like people just say, "Oh, grief is a roller coaster, it's up and down, next." It's like, no, we need to sit in it just a
Mm-mm.
little bit more to make some more space.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Something that came up this past week too about grief is like the more we talk about it, the better because not the
Mhm.
easier,
Mhm.
not the
Yeah.
easier, the better because we find new words, we lean into the discomfort. Like a lot of times people don't know what to say, and it's like, say that. Say, I don't know
Yeah.
what to say, and carry on into this is hard for me. I don't have words for this, but what people do, and I don't know if it's toxic perfectionism or what, but it's like we don't want to show that we don't know, and it's okay that
Mhm.
we don't know. Death
Right.
is none of us knows what it's like to die. We all nobody that has died has come back to tell us what it's like.
Right. Right.
So, us
Yeah.
talking about it is so active and so beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely. I'm curious for you 2 ladies what reflections you have just over the course of the episode. We're near the end, and so any reflections that stand out for you?
For me, I want to. The reflection is expand your community. This conversation, I don't know you guys, but I feel like I've known y'all for like 20 years now. Like but because you provided a space where someone can come in, tell their story, and you realize that you got a lot more in common than you have outside of that. And
Yep.
I would encourage and stand on this. Find someone outside. Find your community. Build your community. Find people. Stop looking at people as competition and look at them as like that could be my community. That could be the people that
Yeah.
support me. That could be the person that get me to the next step. And rather than just looking at people like, ugh, I don't like the way she whatever. Well, no, find out how she get all that confidence. So for me, the reflection is find your community, find it, stand in it, build it, be it. You'd be very, very, very surprised of how powerful and how much we can do when we stand together with one another. So I appreciate you guys for having the space and having the opportunity for someone to come in and build a new part of my community.
Yes,
Or
yes, I love that. I'll say for me, because I agree with everything you said on expanding your community, so I'm gonna try and keep it short and just say I echo it. But the way the both of you blew my mind and expanded my thoughts on trust, how trust builds confidence, trusting people to do or to fail or to just have their own experience builds not only confidence in the person, but also confidence in yourself to say, I have the self-control or I'm gonna stay in this process with this person. I have confidence in the relationship that I'm not gonna, just there was so much depth. So I'll definitely be reflecting on the connections between trust and confidence. Because I gotta say this too, so I can further make sure I'm again clarifying some of my thoughts. Sometimes my thoughts come in one way, but when I'm saying them out loud, I'm like, I don't know if that made sense. But
you
like
making sense?
God,
You're not by yourself. You're not by yourself. That's all
Yeah.
okay,
of us.
yeah, but like God gives us the ability to have free will,
Yes.
Hmm.
and He trusts that we're gonna find our way back to Him. He gives us a plethora of options. We in this whole world, we can do whatever we want. But he
Hmm.
knows his stuff is so good, what he has for us, that we're gonna come back. He has confidence that we're gonna come back. And so that's a part of the trifecta of the things that I'm like reflecting on with trust and confidence that you guys birthed that curiosity in me today, both of you.
Hmm.
Yes, I love that. I'm sitting with just how people have impacted me in the ways in which I show up. Like I'm really still sitting with the way you spoke about your mom and just like connection that I made, and now I'm just thinking about like what are other little seeds people have planted in me that I need to thank them for and give them their flowers for and just continue on with. So I think I'm really
Yeah.
sitting with that and you got me thinking about my grandma whose birthday is next week and all that she's like done for me to put me in a good position. And it's not anything she's given me that's been material. It's all just been the
Mm.
curiosity of life.
Oh God.
That yeah, like my love for museums comes from my grandma. My
Mm.
desire to just exist and enjoy that. But she always ties it back to the gratitude of God. Like
Mm.
that is just her thing. Like,
Mhm.
it's always
Mhm.
gonna come back to that, and so just thinking about, just her, because she's someone who won't take credit for anything at all. Like, if I thank her
Mm.
for this, she's gonna be like, "I didn't do that, that was you, girl," or "I didn't do that,
Mhm.
that was God, girl," and I'm like, "Let me tell you," and she's like, "But it's not me."
Mhm.
So, just, like, really just sitting with that, like, I truly wouldn't be who I am without her, because my parents didn't have time to do a lot of the things that she introduced me to, as simple as, like, she was really big on when you come home, you lay down and you read. And I used to be
Mm.
like, "Girl, what?" But I still
Right.
do it. Even if I only
Right.
read for 5 minutes, she ingrained that in me, like, when you come home, you lay down and you read. Not anything school related, not work related. You read something that feels good for you, and then you have a snack, and then you relax a little bit more, and then you do the thing, and I still do that. So, anyway, just thinking
I'm
about
taking
just those
that.
Yeah,
impacts.
right. These the words I was like, that she just gave to me too.
Yeah, I'm taking that. I'm gonna be doing
Tell
that.
her. Yes, yes,
I
yes.
like that.
Tamika, any takeaways or homework for our listeners?
Yes, my homework for your listeners would be to take about 10 to 15 minutes and really examine yourself. Examine your like not based off of what society says, not based off of what you thought you would be in this place in your life, but really just examine who you are right now. And then once you figure that out, write it down. And once you write that down, look at yourself and say, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? And it doesn't have to be 20 years from now. It could be the next 15 minutes. What do I want to be? Like, who do I want people to, and I take this from my mom, what do I want my legacy to be when I leave this place? And then when you look at that and you look at yourself and you're like, okay, what can I do in the next 2 weeks that can help me build towards that legacy? And I think and if you do it in small chunks like that and make it a part of, like, your weekly habit, you start to build the foundation of your legacy that will supersede you. Like, my mom's been gone for a year and some change now, and things she's taught me at a young age is still living on. I'm implanting that to other people. I think about my grandmothers, same thing, like, they've been gone my one grandma's been gone for almost 20 years now. And this one little thing she told me about me being a jewel. And when you have a jewel, when you have a diamond, you don't let any and everybody up against your diamond. You don't even let them see that diamond. They gotta be on some other type of level to get close to that diamond. That's how you treat your body. And she told me that at a young age, and I teach that to my young girls and to women as well. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't care. You need to know. You need to if that wasn't your mindset then, now that you know this is how you need to move forward. So that's what I would do. And it goes back to the whole reflecting. That's all it is reflecting. Examine yourself, acknowledge where you are right now, and figure out where you want your legacy to be, and then start making little small steps to make sure that that legacy lives beyond you.
Yes.
You
And thank
doing
you for the reminder to focus on the present moment as well. Your
Yeah.
mom did an impeccable job raising you, I must say that, because a lot of things keep tying back to just a lot of skills that I feel like me and Jamie are teaching our kids because we're therapists. But these are a
Mhm.
lot of things that I feel like we went to school and learned, right? Like how to
Mm.
be more present with our kids, how to take our time, how to slow down. But the fact that your mom just had that in the bag and she just pushed it onto you. And now as you talk about it, you're like, you could start with your goals in 15 minutes. Nobody talks about that. Everybody's talking about 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. So I just
Mm-mm.
want to, continue to give her flowers and just honor her doing such a good job on being in the present moment and how I see that and how you're talking.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Of
That for
course.
me, that's the greatest gift that I can receive is when someone say like your mom did. Cause I wasn't not no easy cakewalk, okay? I gave that lady the business. You understand me? You leveled her for real, on all type of levels. My mom went gray very early, and people like, "You went gray?" She's like, "You see that little girl over there? That lady?" She was like, just one quick story. My mom, there was 3 instances in my childhood where random women came to her and said, "She's a handful, isn't she?" And she was like, "Ugh, if you only knew." And they would say, "Don't give up because that girl is going to change the world. She has something in her that is so powerful that it's going to the ladies would literally say change the world." She was like, there's nations waiting for her and you have to stay with her and stay on her, continue to discipline her because what she has to give is going to change the world. 3 random women in different scenarios, one in the grocery store, one at a graduation, and another one at an event we were at when we were young when I was young, said that to her, and she said that is what kept her from not taking me out because she
Oh,
was like, and she actually, my mom had the opportunity to see me receive the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for service. I received in 2024, and she was like, that was the greatest thing she could have ever witnessed is that to see her hard work and to see that, her not giving up on me produced this. And my goal now is to just keep going so that she will be proud. When I see her then the next time, she'll be like, you did that, girl. You did that.
yes. Yes. I hate that ever since I became a mom, everything makes me teary-eyed because I'm over here like, "Don't cry, don't cry. You don't need to
Yeah.
cry." Thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. That was
Yes, yeah.
beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
Well, y'all, that is it for this week's episode of Black Women Healing Podcast, and be sure to tune in next Monday because we got episodes every Monday, y'all.